What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Grr-Must-Errd Gaming. You're with Brother Mustard and Fenin24. We are bringing you world first, I think, right? Both of us have not seen anything quite like this yet, and we're avid Remnant players and followers of the game, so we see a lot of what people are putting out. And today we bring you the first synergizing co-op loadout. So we have built two separate loadouts that play off each other, and with these loadouts, we are going to run through some Apocalypse, and then we're going to do a full clear of the Awakened King. And we're not going to shoot a gun or use a melee weapon. And we've been running around, probably yesterday and today we've been playing around with this, and it's been so much fun. We finally decided to get this together and show the world. So I'm going to go through my loadout and then Fenin's loadout, and I run essentially the support class and the secondary damage drop, whereas Fenin runs the initial damage boost, and essentially he is the damage guy. He's the guy that needs to put the damage in the field, and I want to try to keep us alive. Okay, so I'm running a Vile Diabolist. You can see here I've got my primary Ritualist with Eruption. My secondary archetype is the Alchemist with Elixir of Life. Now, both of these builds are completely based around skill cooldown. So skill cooldown is so essential because you want to be proccing the Miasma and the Eruption to take down all enemies. And the joy of it is, running the Alchemist also, I can play as a healer and essentially like a Guardian Angel because I can keep bringing us back to life. So those are my two archetypes, and they've been working fantastically. So first is your Relic Heart, the Diverting Heart, and I run a separate set of Relic Fragments than Fenin does, but the Relic Heart is so important because once you pop it, you're going to see how quick your skills come back, so you need to run the Diverting Heart for this. Now, on my end of the spectrum, it's Mythic skill cooldown, because again, we want that skill cooldown. Mod duration, because I'm using mods a lot more. I'm really spec'd into them, and you'll notice we'll talk about the difference in Relic Fragments when we get to Fenin's loadout. There is a reason his are different. And then Mythic skill damage, of course, because when I Eruption, that is a huge damage hit for us. Okay, so our gear is similar but different, again, like I said, because there's a couple of different things with each of these. It's a synergizing loadout, so they can't be identical. If they're identical, they'd just be doing the same thing and there'd be no point. So we have had to vary a bit of gear, but it is quite similar. We are looking pretty much at status effect and skill cooldowns here. So Chains of Amplification, Burden of the Skyalist, Burden of the Rebel, Burden of the Stargazer, and the Lighthouse Keeper's Ring. Now, we have been running this, and we haven't been using melee in any way or firing any bullets. We have not consumed any ammunition. We have been using modifiers, and these modifiers, especially this one you see here, Creeping Mist, it's become essential. We actually overlooked it at first, and then we found it, and it just really helps boost that status effect damage. So one of the two things you'd really notice about the different loadouts that we're running is mine is a little bit more focused on mod and skill damage, and Fenin's is based more on skill cooldown and status effect damage and elemental damage types. So we run Nebula as our secondary, both of us, because Nanoswarm is so good. Mutators vary depending on what you think. I've got feedback on, and of course I've got Harmonizer here with Creeping Mist in order to get that generation of the charge for Nebula back faster. That pretty much covers all my gear and why it's all put together. Now let's just talk about my armor. Armor set is kind of player specific. Fenin and I each are just running, these are our base armor sets. So you can just take a look at that, and if you like it, run it, and you notice that it's under 50, and it's got a good armor amount, and it's all positive resistances. That's why we run, and each of them are different. His is actually a little bit better than mine, but I like the way mine looks, so that's what we got. Okay, I think that's everything for the Vile Diabolist, and now let's just quickly talk about traits, because traits are quite key here. There's one trait that is absolutely essential, and that's Amplitude. The AoE size for both Miasma and Eruption are what you're using to take out large groups of enemies, and we don't want to shoot anything, so we need that AoE. It's really, really essential. Flashcaster, I would say, is secondary, because you want to be able to pop off that skill cast as quick as you can, especially Fenin, because Fenin needs to get that damage on the guys so that I can put them down. And I would say I think there is a difference in the casting speed for Eruption and Miasma.
Oh, 100%. I would fully argue that Miasma takes about twice as long to cast as Eruption, but that's where the Flash Caster and where some of my changes in build differ slightly, and we'll get to those when we get to those.
Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, I've got Affliction and Potency both coming from my archetypes. I've put on Fortify. Now, all the rest of my traits are pretty much spec'd into damage reduction and healing coming back. Regrowth is, again, healing. Siphoner, healing, Barkskin, damage reduction, and I do consider Fortify as damage reduction, Triage for more healing. But then we have, obviously, Spirit and Expertise for that mod and skill cooldown, both which are very, very key. The last thing we have is the Xenoplasm, which you can buy from Mudtooth, and again, another skill cooldown for you. It's 120 minutes, 2 hours, and it's a 10% skill cooldown. Just buy some and pop them. They're not that expensive. You got the money for it. Okay, so since we are filming this all from my setup, what I've done is I've gone through a couple times and double-checked to make sure I have all of Fennon's loadout correct. I've gone through it with him, and now we can run through this. So I love...
good.
Yeah, you do. I do think your loadout looks really good, and if you take a look at his stats are actually higher than mine. He's got about 7 points more armor, and pretty much the same resistances. His weight's right at 50, so I got a little bit less weight, which doesn't do much, so you might want to go with this armor loadout. Zealot's Hat, Cultist Duster, Radiant Greaves, and the Leto Mark II. Okay, so I also love that he's the Vile Hellhound. So, Fennon was super smart, and of course, you know now that we're running Miasma. He's the primary. He has to set that damage up so that I can take it down, and that's why this is a synergizing co-op loadout. This is why you need a homie. You want to play with people. You're not going to build this by yourself. If you're a solo player, you know, it's great. Go find someone, show them this video, see what they think, and go try this out, because after you see what we're doing, it's a frickin' blast. Now, Bennett was ultra smart and put on Handler, and he put on Attack Dog just to have that Howl increase that damage, and he's pretty much spec'd as much as he can into damage and skill cooldown, and if it's elemental, status effect, anything like that, that's where it's coming from. He's got Chains of Amplification, again as his amulet. The Black Pawn Stamp, you'll see skill cooldown. The Burden of the Rebel, skill cooldown. Burden of the Stargazer, skill cooldown. And then the Anahi, or the Ahane, that's a hard one to pronounce. And so he was telling me this ring has run into the build because once you're using, and it's because once you prop Miasma, you're looking at a 20% additional damage bonus because you've got all the different status effects, right, Fennon?
Correct.
Okay, and again, so Nebula, and he's got a different primary because the Bone Saw is his jammy, but he is running that Creeping Mist, and those are the two things we're using. Now, Fennon, can you just talk about your Diverting Heart and why you have different relic fragments set up?
Yes, so the Diverting Heart fragment setup on my end is more or less just for the Miasma. Obviously, we keep the skill cooldown just like Jake's, because why wouldn't you want that on a skill build, but I'm running Mythic Elemental damage and Mythic Casting Speed, so that way Miasma can continue to be thrown out as fast as possible with more damage bonus on top of that. Just really adding that little bit more to my end of the build.
Yes, and those all come into play and make for a fantastic damage set that we are both doing together here, and it is just wicked cool. So, again, you can see his traits are a little bit different. Most of that just comes from the different archetypes we're running, so I don't think we need to talk about that. And have I missed anything? Should we get into this and go show them what we can do?
Well, as soon as you put your pants back on, yeah, let's give it a rock.
I gotta get dressed here, people. Because damn, do I ever look good.
Oh, man.
Okay, so that's the build. If you just want to put it together and go, that is great. Do us a huge solid and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit that like button. But if you want to hang out and see what we can do here, we're heading to the testing grounds. So, campaign is on Apocalypse. I've kept my campaign role on Apocalypse pretty much strictly for build testing because I run all my builds through Apocalypse. And my favorite place to build test is Imperial Gardens. So we go to the Imperial Gardens because it has such a good concentration of enemies.
Hey.
All right, here we are, everybody. Welcome to the Imperial Gardens with the added effect of the Blood Red Moon. So really test a build out when you're up against one of these. yeah, this area is just, it's got a really great concentration of dedicated elites, and the ads, the enemies are alone. They are just absolutely freaking savage.
Oh, yes.
Where'd he go? I got him here. Oh, he's so done. Oh.
Well, those would have been a problem.
Yeah, and status effect ate up our elite. There we go.
Yep.
Alright, let's pop this back up.
Yep, yep.
Not done.
Oh, look at him go.
Down he goes.
And he gets some status.
Oh, man, the status almost took him, and the dog got a hold of him.
Oh, yeah. Good little things here, there, and everywhere.
Keep popping these relics, and, like, look at the speed of that cooldown.
Oh, it's lovely. And then watch what happens to a bunch of little enemies, like right here. Oh, what little enemies?
Wow. That was
Isn't it great?
just as...
Oh, do we have another wave coming in? Let's do something about that.
Oh, we got another elite. Where's it coming up?
There, over in the back. And some other little guys coming in. Not that
And
they
they're
can do much.
As you can
Easy
see,
come.
like, we're in Apocalypse, we're in a Blood Red Moon, and if you haven't ran Apocalypse in Imperial Gardens to test out any builds, I honestly don't think you're doing it right. Yeah, there is one thing to do bossing, because the bossing builds are a thing, but, like, this is the place to really test what's going on. Imperial Gardens is a gauntlet, and then you throw a Blood Red Moon on top of that, and it's like, thank you very much, like, this is fantastic.
Oh, and I think that's honestly something a lot of builds in Remnant overlook is, yes, it is very important to kill bosses, but what's the other half of the game?
Honestly, like,
explorer.
if anyone's coming back and you've seen my other builds before, you know that I build my builds for running around the world and for taking on ads. Like, the whole point of my builds are to have a good time out in the world fighting ads. If you want a bossing build, go look up the best hugs, go look up the unkillable challenger build and whatnot. Is that just for those deers? Oh, it doesn't affect them.
Oh, weird. No, because we hit some guys up top, too.
There we go. What? Bye! I'm gonna pop this. Took some damage.
Yeah. Take some health back, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the sick part about having all of the lovely health regen and armor on everything else.
Yeah, that is the goal, right? Making that damage proc come around.
Oh, here, let me grab some ammo. Oh, wait.
Yeah, hold on, I got this one. What, we've made it almost all the way through and, like, haven't picked up ammo yet?
Yeah, that happens when you don't fire a bullet now, doesn't it? Excuse me, sir, I need to get in the middle of everyone. Oh, look at that, we're set up.
Hi! And this is the prime example. Hitting this point in this run is usually where I end it, because it's so crazy getting here, but we'll keep going, because this is so much fun, and we're in Apocalypse, and we're not going to shoot, and we're just going to keep on doing our thing.
Having a good time.
Yeah. I feel like we should cut some music in there, but I don't want to get copyrighted, so... Yeah, and from here, we're gonna quickly go to Nerud, and we're gonna quickly go to Lonesome, just to a couple little spots that I love to test in. Like, they're just my two other drops, which are a lot quicker. They're not the same run as Imperial Gardens. Like, Imperial Gardens is the gold standard in survivability to me. These flyers and their homing shots, the way they work, is just absolutely disgusting. They're so brutal. But from there, we're going to move into, and I think we are just going to do it on Veteran first, but we're going to do an entire clear. We're going to do an entire clear of the Awakened King without shooting, and that means bosses, everything, all like this. I think that's about good enough. I don't think there's much else we can show them. Like, we're just doing the same thing over and over, but it has value. It's really great. So I'm going to cheers to Dan Aykroyd, and we're going to head off to Nerud.
Sounds good.
Okay, this is, I always come here. I've got, if you've seen my builds, like I said, you've seen where I run, you've seen where I build test, and I just love this little loot because if you get an elite spawn and if the enemies gang up on you, it's a great test. It's a great pressure test, and, I really don't think we're gonna have any problems with this in any way.
Well, we're certainly not in Kansas anymore, if that's what you're asking.
Definitely less colorful.
But you'll notice at the same time too, everything sure does explode.
It does explode. And, okay, again, skill cooldowns.
And even there, without my proc, you basically just killed everyone.
Yeah. Absolutely bonkers what these two can do together. And as people that are like hundreds of hours invested in this game already and have played so much of this, we really are having a great time playing like this. It's so different, it's so challenging. The run through the Awakened King DLC, yeah, it's so good for a switch up, and we highly recommend you find someone, get on the forums, check my link. I've got a Discord link in there from my Discord, and I've got other friends. Like, come around. Like, you know, if you need someone to play with, like, let us know. This would be a really interesting thing to throw a third in, and see what happens.
Yeah, you could go honestly either way with it.
Did your Nebula finish off that row? Oh, here we go. This is a good chunk.
Yeah.
Oh, I am. There we go. That's better.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah. I was worried for a half a second there. How does this do? Okay, so look at that. He took no damage from me. Now?
But now...
Now he takes all the damage.
Oh my.
And again, you just popping your two, and this is it. This is just where we end our little...
Fun little run around.
Yeah.
Watch the people blow up.
In the choke points, you can get really screwed over here. I think Nerud is, I would call it one of the harder areas, maybe the second hardest compared to Imperial Gardens that I've experienced because of the little flying robots and the amount of enemies that can come at you. But it's nothing compared to Imperial Gardens. All right, let's go to my choke point in Lonesome, and then we will be off to play the game. Cheers.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so this is always where I end the video, and this one's pretty quick. We are going to one choke point. We're going to get 6 or 7 enemies together. We're going to put them down with one blast of this. You've obviously had time to decide what you think. Get in the comments. Let us know. Are you going to get a friend? Are you going to try this out? Are you going to build either of these solo and kind of give them a shot? You know, you could really spin mine off into an elemental status effect damage also. And again, I think the Vile Hellhound does a great job on its own of mobbing and controlling the battle. This has been a prime example of 3 different biomes in Apocalypse with this synergizing co-op loadout setup doing what it does and really not having a problem. Like, it really this is like, it's kind of disgusting.
Well, I mean, there might be a problem here, but it's definitely for the poor enemies.
Like that, is that it?
Yeah. No, there's one guy left. Come on now. Oh, here we go. And they're gone.
Yeah, you don't even look at them. You don't do anything. Okay, so we are stoked. We really appreciate you taking the time to check out these loadouts we put together, this build. We have been so excited. Like, when we first got Ritualist, and it was Fennin, and Fennin laughed. He does this laugh. He's got this great laugh, and he said, "Ooh, this is going to synergize so well." And I immediately was like, oh my god. I was like, and we have been thinking about this and slowly cooking it up, and yesterday it all kind of culminated in us being like, yo, let's build it, let's try it. And yesterday we played as these guys for quite a while, and we're laughing and having such a good time. So we hope you get out there, we hope you try it out. Get in the comments and let us know what you think. Let us know if you do try it. Let us know how it works for you. If you switch anything up on the build, what are your recommendations? What would you do for it? And keep that conversation going. We are now getting to step out and gonna go do a full clear of the Awakened King DLC without shooting a bullet or swinging a melee weapon. Oh yeah, world first coming up. You're here for it. Subscribe if you're not. Hit that like button. Thank you so much. Fennin, say later, and thanks for coming around. Come on, Fenton, say later.
Later.